By a show of hands, how many of you have heard of corridos, mariachi, or ranchera music in Mexican culture? If not, that's fine. Mexican music and culture are spreading like wildfire throughout the southern western U.S. and North America, implement and practicing Mexican music and culture in classes and programs. By another show of hands, how many of you have heard of Antonio Aguilar? I expect around the same answer. Antonio Aguilar presents himself as one of the most influential artists and actors in Mexican culture. Antonio Aguilar cemented his name in Mexican history throughout his life of music, acting, and his famous personal life. Today, I will review the most recognized aspects of Antonio Aguilar's life, including his music, acting, and personal life. As a young boy, Antonio Aguilar developed an initial interest in music and soon embarked on a music career. Although Antonio first began his music journey singing boleros, he eventually switched to rancheras and corridos, making him a larger audience worldwide. His popularity rose as he sold out many arenas in the United States and succeeded at expanding his fan base, both Mexican and non-Latino audiences. Antonio gained massive exposure to his music by implementing charro shows. Antonio Aguilar developed his music career by pioneering charro shows, a combination of Mexican rodeo and ranchera music. Throughout his continued music career, Antonio sold over 25 million albums and released more than 130 albums. In 2000, he was awarded his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now that we've covered the most known and largest aspects of Antonio Aguilar's life, we will cover another large aspect of who Antonio Aguilar was in his persona: his acting and producing career. Acting and producing. Antonio Aguilar distinguished himself as a well-known producer and actor in the film industry. He first started filmmaking in Hollywood for several years in the early 1940s. Although he was eventually deported shortly after, he became an actor and a screenwriter in Mexico. Antonio Aguilar furthered his acting career by producing and acting in major Mexican and American films. His passion for acting eventually expanded into producing and screenwriting. Antonio produced, co-wrote, and played in the leading role of Emiliano Zepeta. Similarly, he produced and starred in the hit film La Banda del Carro Rojo. His popularity as an actor came from his portrayal of historical figures like Emiliano Zapata and his role in the Hollywood film The Undefeated, also starring John Wayne, where he played a Mexican general fighting President Benito Juarez. Now, after covering the acting and producing aspects of Antonio's life, we will cover his personal life and fame depicted him as a person. Antonio Aguilar had a fascinating personal life and displayed his life to all of his fans and supporters. Pascual Antonio Aguilar Basara was born May 17, 1919 in Villanueva in the state of Zacatecas. As a young boy, he entered the seminary to become a priest and cultivated his vocal talents in the choir. Antonio's goal of becoming a singer led him to Hollywood, where he earned a scholarship to study music. He was eventually deported to Tijuana, where he would work for about a year, earning $12 a week. Antonio Aguilar involved his family and personal life in his work and music. Antonio Aguilar was married to dancer Olita Langarega, and after his divorce, he married a singer. In 1950, he married singer Flor Silvestre and eventually gave way to two sons, Pepe and Antonio Jr. He frequently toured with his wife and two sons in the performances, influencing them to become singers. His son Pepe Aguilar is among the most famous mariachi and ranchera artists of our time. As you have heard today through my speech and reflections on Antonio Aguilar and the most important aspects of his career, in particular his stardom in early music and his switch to corridos and ranchera, along with his recognition in Hollywood. His eagerness to study film landing him in many great films and led him to direct his own. His young life involved him in music and church, giving way to his future wife Flor Silvestre and his two sons Pepe and Antonio Jr., two very recognized singers and artists in Mexico. leave the question to you, the audience, on how learning about Antonio Aguilar has shaped your knowledge on Mexican culture and history.